Ramel, take it away.
Welcome to Shit Your Mama Should Have Told You and More. I am your host, Ramel. And today we're talking about Lonely for the Holiday with my co host, Simone.
Hey y'all. All right. Today we have a special guest. We wanted to take a moment to get serious with this topic because it can be a very serious topic. So we have with us Dr. Leanette Henagan, and she is a clinical social worker. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for joining us today, Dr.
Thank
Lynette.
you for having me.
So, Simone and I have been talking a lot about being lonely for the holiday, and we have some experience with this because we do travel nursing and we're away from our families quite often during the holiday.
Mhm.
Um, Last year it was last year, right, Simone?
Yeah, last year.
We were Simone Simone did a different kind of lonely. It was a group of them, and then I kind of isolated. And at first everybody was looking at me like I was kind of weird, and I thought, well, I don't think that's weird. I don't want to be around people with COVID. Dr. Lynette, do you know about the different types of loneliness for the holiday? Like, what are your feelings on that? What is your thought? Was that strange?
Well, absolutely. No, it was not strange. I think we definitely saw a different type of loneliness. The people are lonely because they relocate. So
Hmm.
20 years ago when I relocated to Arizona, I was away from my family, friends, and my first holiday in Phoenix, I was lonely because I didn't know anybody. So we have that part, right? Because you're
Right,
traveling and relocating, and people had that.
right,
Then you have the lonely where you're in a room of a bunch of people, or you're like the third wheel,
right.
and you know people don't want you to be lonely, so they invite you to their function, but everybody's booed up,
Right.
and you're just here, and everyone, they're doing games that are couple relevant. So there's that type of lonely.
Yeah.
And
Right.
then COVID presented this isolation type of lonely, which people that are introverts
Mhm.
loved COVID, right?
Yes.
I don't have
I
to
can
deal with
imagine.
anybody. I don't have to talk to anybody. I can just be in my fields and my pajamas and just me and the TV and Netflix. And I don't think that's weird. I just think it was a different level of coping because there was this fear that had been presented in the world, like if you associate with anybody, you're going to be infected or you're going to die. It
Yeah.
When COVID first started, it was not, oh, you're going to have some mild symptoms. It was like isolate or die.
Right.
That's how
That's
Hmm.
true.
that's how the media portrayed it, right?
That's true.
Right.
And so I think it was a level of protection that to isolate, to safeguard your own health and wellness, because you thought if I get infected, I'm going to die. There was no middle ground because we didn't know a lot at the beginning. So that loneliness wasn't weird, but I think people found out a lot about themselves. People started
Mhm.
doing all these random things, gardening, music, cooking. I mean, you saw all the stuff on TikTok and Instagram. People
Right.
started, and maybe that was good because you people had to redefine themselves because people lost work and jobs. So it
Right.
wasn't
Yeah.
necessarily a bad thing being lonely, because some
Right.
people are so busy just to be busy, you don't take time for self-care. So I think what you're talking about is that you isolated, but you found some self-care in that.
I did. I
Mhm.
absolutely did. And I also thought that during that time, I was just sort of like, Ramel, there's some other things you can do, like right now. Like, I still participated in some of the stuff, right, Simone? Like, I got some
Yeah.
food and, you
Yes.
know,
Yes.
FaceTimed a little bit and this kind of thing. But I'm gonna let Simone ask some of her questions because I know she has some as well.
So one thing I know that we discussed that we wanted to talk about is a lot of times I think one of the issues with depression and especially going through seasonal depression is that we don't recognize like the signs or the symptoms.
Mhm.
Um, so how can we do that, or how should family members and friends do that?
So I was interesting that you brought that about seasonal depression. I didn't realize, especially because it's related to the sun.
Mhm.
I lived in Michigan, born and raised. I didn't realize that I probably had that undiagnosed until I moved to Arizona, where it's always sunny.
Ah.
And I was like,
Hmm.
oh my gosh, it's sunny all the time, and I'm outside all the time. And
Right.
so I think you know when winter is coming, when you're back east or in an area where they have long stints of winter. And so start preparing for that. Like, what are you
Mhm.
going to do? Because you can't be outside. You can't have fun. No one wants to put on 50 pounds of clothes to get in
Hmm.
a car, to drive somewhere, to take off the coat, the scarf, the hat for an hour to do that all again. It's a very tedious process. You don't think about it at the time because that's what you do, right? That's in the winter,
Mhm.
that's just what you do.
Mhm.
Um, and so preparing for what can I do that is not laborious? What can I do that's still fun that I'm not going to mind the seasonal depression? And how can I get past these dark days? Because weather plays a huge part. We need that vitamin D to
Yeah.
for our mood. Um,
Mhm.
in some places, people buy a it's like a sunlight lamp to have in their
Mm.
space, adjusting
Mm.
how you do your activities so it gets darker sooner. Like right now in December, it's dark when you wake up. By the time you leave work, it's dark. What can
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
do during those hours, or what activities in those dark times that are very fun and active for you can you do? So is that your workout time that you do when it's dark? Is it in the evening time? Do you schedule Zoom time or time with friends during those times where it's darker so you're not feeling that effect of, oh my gosh, it's just dreary and it goes on for months. I know for
Mhm.
Michigan, I feel like it doesn't get warm until like May.
Oh
Right.
God.
I know. I heard about that.
I say that facetiously, right? But you know, sometimes like when I'm
God.
watching the news, it's like, oh, we had a late winter storm, and it's like April. I'm like, oh my gosh, like
I've heard that about Michigan. Yeah, I've heard that. So f- when we're thinking about the holiday and being lonely, I have seen times where I was in a room full of people and I saw somebody just sitting over in the corner. How can I identify if that person is actually feeling lonely? And is it offensive? Do you think, just in your opinion, do you think, or either of you think it's offensive to approach that person? Because sometimes people are
Mhm.
just there. Is that
Yeah.
offensive? And how do I identify if they're actually feeling lonely? Is that even doable?
Well, I can say that, I've been in that situation. I'm a very private person. Have
mhm,
been for many years of my life. So I've been in that situation where like I'm at a family event and I'm just sitting there and, like I'm not, depressed, but I definitely am feeling lonely because I feel like I'm not connecting with anybody.
mhm,
But I
Mm,
have had times where my aunt maybe or my grandma just randomly is just like, so what's going on? How are things going? And it's just
mhm,
kind of like, okay, so you saw me, like you see me basically. And so
mhm,
I think for me in that moment, it was beneficial when someone just said something, whether they thought I was going through something or not, because they know I'm one of the quieter and one of the more kept to myself type of people. I think it was just helpful that they did just checking in, type of thing.
okay.
I would agree. I think just engaging with that person so they know that they're being seen, know that they're being heard, because especially at big family gatherings. So I'll talk from a clinical perspective and then a layperson perspective. Layperson check in. You know, if the family's having like everyone's dancing or playing the game, hey, come on, let's do this. Be my partner, making sure they're involved and stuff. But
Mhm.
then you have the person from the clinical perspective that is doing that to get attention,
Oh, I didn't think
like
about that.
attention seeking because nothing is wrong. They just want the attention to be on them. They want to be. They're not the center of attention at that moment. Maybe because it's Thanksgiving and someone's birthday is nearby. Say, Rimmel, it's your birthday and it's Thanksgiving. So not only are we celebrating Thanksgiving, but we're celebrating Rimmel as well. But this person,
Rimmel.
Remember,
Rimmel, sorry, I apologize.
I'm messing with you. I know.
wait, we had a patient that called her that. We was calling her Rimmel for like a whole week.
They were called forever. That's why I was like, Rimmel. Flashback.
You had some trauma. And
Sorry,
so
I
they want to take the attention away. They're like, they're not the center of attention. Like, we all know that family member that always has to be the center of attention, and when they're not, they go in the corner and pout. That's
Hmm.
that's not loneliness. That's them pouting because they're not getting their way. So
right.
Yeah.
trying to decipher
Yeah.
that, I wouldn't ask someone that's not a professional to decipher that, but being aware, because if you try to engage that person, they're just like, no, I just want to be by myself. Let them be by themselves,
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's not about them being lonely. It's about, because everybody's not doting on me. They want it to
Mhm.
be about them, and it's not about you
oh,
right
it's
now. It's a
fake loneliness.
family function, right? You're presenting a fake loneliness. This is a family function. It's about the family. It's not about
Right.
you. So, um,
That's a different type of mental health issue.
a whole different one.
So we were talking about how we couldn't talk about this topic without talking about some of the bigger things that come out of loneliness during the holiday, like
Mhm.
people who have lost loved ones and people who are really depressed. Is
Mhm.
there
Hmm.
anything that you can offer, or even a resource that maybe you are aware of, that people who are really truly lonely for the holiday and are not attention seekers and maybe are desperate and feeling despair or what have you? Is there anything that we can offer them as a resource to get some help?
Yeah, I would always defer to the National Suicide Hotline if they are depressed. Um, Especially if they've lost a loved one. But during the holidays is a perfect time to, like, my father died around the holidays when I was younger, and so the holidays can kind of swing one way or the other for me. But I try to be intentional in knowing that, you know what, this is a time of year that I could get depressed thinking about it, and then think, you know what, I have a daughter now, so I use that time to say, hey, your grandfather was this, your grandfather did this.
Right.
We're going to establish this tradition. It's going to
Hmm.
be a joyful tradition because we're celebrating his life and what he did. Same thing
Awesome.
for my grandmother. So I think you can spin it and reframe it so it's not like, oh my gosh, we lost this person. Well, what did that person mean to you? How did they bring joy to your life? And using that as a family tradition, or create a new family tradition to say, we're going to celebrate this, and we make cookies because of this, or that sweet potato pie, or whatever, whatever it is, to make it joyful and not something that, oh my gosh, I'm going to lock my room. Because even you can be depressed, and that's okay. We acknowledge that. But
Hmm.
you ruminating on that is never going to bring that person back. But that,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
and they probably would not want you to do that. And thinking, how would they want you to live your life and be successful, and live their memory out in a positive way?
Yeah.
I really like that. I like that suggestion. Thank you for that. So, National Suicide Hotline Prevention Hotline, right? That's one of the
Yes,
resources, right?
that would
Okay. And
definitely be one.
and and reframing what you can do. I like that.
Hmm.
Well, Dr. Lynette, I don't know if you have any more questions, Simone. I told Dr. Lynette we weren't going to keep her very long because I know she's very busy at this time. Any other
Hmm.
questions? I
No,
got a
that's
thousand
it.
questions, but I don't want to tie you up.
I have time for a few more. So if you have a few more, I have a few more minutes.
Okay, all right. You sure, Simone? We had a
Since,
bunch.
since I called you, Remo instead of Ramel, I'll use you.
You guys are at
Give me
you
five
guys
more
are at
minutes, lady.
I'll give you five
you
more
got
minutes.
you guys are at 15, well 14 minutes. So if you want to ask a couple more questions, you definitely got a little room for it.
Okay.
Okay, okay, okay. So now, the different types of loneliness: lonely in the room, lonely because you lost a boyfriend. I don't know if that can you even really call that lonely? Can we even say that's loneliness?
You could, because some people, once they get a boo, male or female,
Hmm.
they they shut out the rest of their people and they just focus on that person. So if that person walks away, now you have to
Mm.
reconnect with your family and friends. So it could be.
Okay. So an empty nester like me, my son has just recently, turned to of the age of college. Is that can that even be considered loneliness when I'm home and he's gone and I'm still trying to get adjusted? Is that a type of loneliness?
Well, it's two things actually. So it's a loneliness, but now you have to your identity has changed, right?
Right. Now
Because
I'm
Mhm.
not mom.
you're always mom, but
Right.
like right now I'm soccer mom, so everything is
Okay.
revolved around that.
Right.
When she goes off to school, my hope is to be travel mom. Like drop you off at college, I'm going on a plane to Dubai. Like that's the plan.
I know that's right. Ooh. Okay. That
So
makes
it's
a
like
difference.
redefining your identity. Like you've been mom, active mom, like doing in the grind, cooking every day, washing, doing laundry. So that is gone. So it's not loneliness, but it is a loss
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
now what do you do with all that time?
Right.
Yeah.
And so the stuff that you've kind of put on the shelf, because as moms and as parents, we put things on the shelf. I can do this later, but right now I have to be on the grind for my kids.
Mm-hmm.
And we should. That's what we signed up to do when we had kids. But
Mm-hmm.
now, what all those things on the shelf that we put on hold, what can I take off and now start doing
Right.
that I have this time and space? And so we can do that.
So
That's
I
when mom
was
starts scrapbooking, huh?
You're right.
scrapbooking.
Scrapbooking.
Uh,
We get new types of children, right? Our projects become our different types of children.
That's
Remodeling
true.
the house and traveling and starting our business, scrapbooking, all that stuff. We just get different types of projects.
Do you guys think that there are areas of the country that we should avoid if we're lonely during the holiday, just in general? Because I know Seattle will be one of those areas I would not go to during the holiday. Me personally, are
Mm.
there zones? I mean, just curious.
That's a good question. I mean,
I'm like,
Seattle would be on my list too because of the dreariness.
Like
Um,
Seattle and Oregon, I would be like, nah, not now, not during the holiday.
mhm.
I would think if you are a person that suffers from seasonal depression, not staying anywhere for a long time. So, like, if you have family in those areas, not staying for maybe 2 weeks or a month. You get in
Right,
for the weekend and you you come back.
right, right. That's what I would think. Because I was thinking about this, and I was like, well, I want to take a trip somewhere during a holiday where it's pretty and festive, and I'm sure Seattle is pretty and festive, but I just thought, nah, that's not a good place to go because it's always it rains every day. I think.
Yep. It's like
Okay.
London. They talk about how London and Britain are very dreary, like Seattle. Well, I wouldn't want to go over there right now.
Right,
Right.
right,
You know,
Right.
I think anywhere right now is festive, just not an extended stay.
right. Okay,
Mhm.
so don't overstay your welcome in these places. That's the advice.
We still love you, Seattle. Though we still love you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We love
Just
Seattle.
not during
Seattle
the
is
winter as
beautiful.
much. It is beautiful.
Well, thank you, Dr. Lynette. It has
Thank
been a
you.
pleasure talking with you
It's
and
my pleasure.
definitely informative. I'm going to try some of those tips. I'm
Yes.
going to do some of those
Yeah.
things.
Be
And I
intentional
just
about your self-care during this time, whatever that is. Spa time, me time, reading, whatever your self-care is, just be intentional and set aside time for that because the holidays are stressful enough.
Well, my feet
mhm.
need some work, so I think I think this would be a good time to get on it.
Call make that appointment.
Simone, you seen my feet, right? It was about a thick layer like this.
No,
This would
I
be a
don't
good
like people's feet.
Thank you, Dr. Lynette, for coming on our show.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And
Where
before
can
we
our
go, I just wanted to make sure that we did point out the number for the suicide hotline is 800-273-8255. That is for the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline.
Yes.
Dr. Lynette, where can people find you if they need your services? Because it sounds like you're busy.
I am in Phoenix. I do telehealth as well. They can reach me at Concierge Wellness on Instagram and Facebook.
All right. You guys heard it here. Peace.
Thank
Yeah.